This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. It is not intended to cause or induce breach of an existing agency agreement.
Hello? 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 This is the Vancouver
Commercial
Real Estate Podcast.
And welcome back to the Vancouver Commercial Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Cory Wright.
And I'm your other host, Melisa Moretti.
So people are probably wondering, where's Adam?
Where's Adam?
Where's Adam, right?
Good question.
So it could be a number of things. You know, today is, we record these, we date stamp these, we record these on Fridays. We put them out on Tuesdays.
Thirsty Thursday.
Yeah, so
I don't know.
Is Adam, are you alluding to the fact that Adam might be hungover?
I'm not 100% positive, but...
Well, let's go down that road. What was Adam doing last night?
That's a good question. But I got a text from him saying, I think you need to hang out with Cory today. I thought,
yeah. So
for sure.
I thought it was because, you know, I mean, Monday's a holiday. I mean,
Yep.
Adam's the boss. Adam's
Yep.
like, I'm not coming in today.
Yep.
You guys go host the podcast, but you're thinking there could be more to that story.
I mean, just an inkling. I don't know.
Or the fact that he smelled like a brewery when I was downstairs. So we talk a lot about commercial real estate on this. How is the residential market? Obviously in commercial, we differ a little bit, but you know, you're on the residential side. I mean, obviously interest rates have an impact there. How is the residential market right now?
It's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I think there's definitely still a lot of buyers who want to buy. We're seeing good product on the market, selling quickly, good prices. You know, obviously there's a lot of people sitting on the sidelines and including sellers, right? Buyers and sellers. You know, on the ground, like we're still pretty busy. I think the headlines are scaring a lot of people. You know, I talked to a lot of agents and people are still buying and selling, right? That's kind of the bottom line. And, you know, when people have life changes and, you know, they need to buy and sell, right? So interest rates are impacting a lot of people, but stuff's still happening.
As interest rates continue to climb, as what's predicted over the next probably quarter to 2 quarters, does that have further impact on the slowdown, or is it more of a quality over quantity thing at that point?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I do think it will have a bit more of an impact for sure, but I think that's going to level off, right? Like
supply and demand.
Exactly, right. You know how many buyers I have that want to buy? Like the second that things, you know, the interest rates stop climbing and they feel like things are stabilizing a little bit, everyone's jumping back on, right? So,
well, I remember I was probably a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, and I was on a webinar, and it had some major developers on it. And I can't remember who honestly wrote this on the whiteboard, but everyone was kind of like, you know, is it a bubble? You know, how high can it go?
I've been hearing that my whole life.
And this gentleman literally stood up and he goes, okay, wrote whatever year it was on there, and he wrote like, I don't know, I don't remember the number, it was like 10,900. And then below that, he wrote like 70,000. Yeah. And he goes, this is the number of condos that were delivered.
Right.
This is the number of people that moved in. Yeah. Economics. And then sat down. And I was like, brilliant. Brilliant. So I think supply and demand issues will be.
I think it's very basic. Absolutely.
We're going to have supply and demand issues as long as I live, and with you being much younger than me, as long as you live, we'll probably still have supply and demand issues. So absolutely. I think it's going nowhere. Our guest today, Jeff Brown from our Kelowna office, came in. People have been reaching out, says, hey, you know, what's happening up there? Because there's been so much hype and headlines for so long. He comes on today. He talks all about what's happening in Kelowna. Good stuff, maybe some bad stuff. Have they seen the slowdown? Have they been impacted the same way other markets have? Jeff comes on, fan favorite of a show, comes on, unpacks everything Kelowna, and surprisingly, extremely busy up there.
Yeah.
Still busy. So I think without further ado, why don't we get to our interview today with Jeff Brown of the William Wright Kelowna office.
Let's go.
Enjoy, guys. This week's episode is brought to you by our great friends at Impact Commercial Group.
Really enjoy working with Impact Commercial. And we should say Al and his team can basically do anything when it comes to lending.
anything when it comes under the commercial umbrella, you're building a building and development, we got you covered. You're buying land, we'll make that happen for you. You're investing in a property or multifamily building, check. Owner occupiers looking to acquire their own space, double check. Anything commercial financing you need, Impact Commercial is your go-to.
Impactcommercial.ca. And we should say over 50 years of combined experience. So trust these guys. They're the right fit.
Best in the business, in my opinion. All right, so we're here today with Jeff Brown from the William Wright Commercial Kelowna office. Jeff, how are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks for having me.
Jeff, can you maybe tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself there that maybe haven't heard you on the show previously?
Well, I've been in Kelowna now for approximately 7 years and joined the William Wright team just almost about 2 years ago now. Opened up the office just over a year ago. And specifically focused on commercial real estate, which I think, as everybody has seen in Kelowna, has been quite active in the past, especially in the past 2 years. But even in the past, 7 since I've been here, Kelowna is on an upwards trajectory, and we're really starting to see some really significant growth and density happen, which is exciting for me, being from Vancouver and living for a little while in Calgary. It's really nice to move to a city like this and then see the maturation that's happening and the growth. For me, it's a really exciting place to be.
So Jeff, we're kind of branding ourselves the podcast of the people now, because I write in with questions and we try to deliver on these answers. And one thing that we've continuously been emailed about is Kelowna. It seems like it's the epicenter now of real estate in North America, whether it's condos or commercial real estate. So as we're kind of in an unknown time right now with high, rising interest rates and inflation, everyone, so how is Kelowna? Is Kelowna still what it once was? So we wanted to have you back. We had you on probably about a year ago on the show. So we want to kind of do like a Kelowna update. So if you can maybe sort of let us know what's exciting in Kelowna, what's transpired over the past 6 months to a year from the massive run up, and how is it now?
Well, we're still seeing lots of demand and lots of movement. I think Kelowna is going to prove itself to be very resilient, especially on the commercial real estate side of things. I know, from speaking with a few people on the residential world and with the increasing interest rates, the residential markets have taken a bit more of a hit, whereas commercially, with the lack of inventory and still significant demand, the commercial industry is being and staying quite resilient, and we're still seeing record transactions and new projects still being launched and development permits still being pushed through. People are still really confident in the area and what's to come in the future.
So Jeff, recently, all the big hype has been Kelowna was recently named the fastest growing city in Canada. And I think when you look at it, and people who haven't been up there and you take a look at it, you see now all the holes in the ground, or I guess not really holes in the ground in Kelowna, towers going up. Can't refer to holes in the ground. Towers going up, tons and tons of commercial developments up there. I mean, how has that news impacted that marketplace up there? Have you seen more people calling to find out more what Kelowna is about that maybe didn't realize it before? Or has there even been some deterrent where people are worried about oversaturation?
I think the only people that are worried about oversaturation are the ones that have been here who don't necessarily want to see, that much growth, a little bit of, potential NIMBYism, which I think is, natural in any type of, growing city, especially one that's growing at the rate that Kelowna is. But I think for the most part, the phones still ring. We definitely see interest from, the Lower Mainland, Alberta, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, and even Toronto with certain franchisees for franchises and mandates to open locations. So we're still on the receiving end of many inquiries and people just trying to figure out when the best time is to move. But the decision that we find to move has already been made. It's just now about finding the right fit and where that's going to be within the area.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. So in terms of asset classes in Kelowna, what's sort of the best performing asset class that you're seeing on the ground?
Well, definitely, industrial. Industrial strata has seen the most demand. What we're starting to see now, as projects are, still being launched. BD's got their Stratosphere project that's just been announced and launched over by in Airport Business Park, and we're still seeing owner occupiers kind of flock to that opportunity because realistically the pricing for strata industrial between here and Vancouver is still 65% of what you would pay for in the Lower Mainland. So there's still value to be found out here. Now we are starting to reach that point where the price per square foot, and if you're looking at it on an income producing aspect, that potentially the lease rates may not match that number. So we're starting to see that sensitivity come into play where the pricing, it needs to be, priced right so that we can attract as many buyers as possible. But the industrial asset class has always continued to perform really well. Industrial land is seeing, anywhere between $2.5 million to $4 million an acre, depending on, your location. And then we're really looking, or getting lots of calls for, multifamily projects and, looking at the OCP and zoning those types of sites. And if we can make the numbers work, we're still seeing developers flock to the area for multifamily projects. And so those are the two asset classes I feel that have the most competition and the most demand, but those are probably the strongest ones. And the other one that I feel like is going to continue to do well because we don't have a ton of inventory, nor do we have a lot of projects slated, under construction, is anything related to like strata office or strata retail. There's no real owner occupier opportunities in those asset classes that are really coming to market. So when these opportunities do hit the market, we find that there's lots of people having to look at them and, still getting, in some cases for the right space, multiple offers, even in this current, lending landscape that we see. There's still high demand for that sort of stuff because we don't have, a ton of available inventory currently on the market. And like I say, when it does, it sure as heck doesn't seem to last long.
So Jeff, you talked there a lot about new developments and stuff like that. How has the challenging construction market played havoc, good or bad, in Kelowna? Has Kelowna experienced some challenges there with all these rising prices in construction, considering obviously there's transportation costs to get product to your market?
Oh, absolutely. I think we've been speaking with, some of our own clients. Construction budgets have not been met. And the increases in those end up getting transferred over to the end user. So your price per square foot on a purchase becomes higher, or your lease rates, need to come up to recoup some of those costs. The other thing that we're seeing is that, as it relates to, fixturing periods and construction timelines, things are taking much longer. And I think part of that's because of, the time it takes for the materials to get here, but also, not having enough trades available to do the work. And, what used to be a 3-month build or a 12-month build is now a 5-month construction project or an 18-month construction project, which makes it that much more challenging to hang on to a property and not have any income coming in. So I think it's definitely impacted the industry, and like I say, and the reality is it just gets transferred over to the end user so that they can recoup their costs on that.
In terms of development, I know we're on that topic. How do you think the upcoming election will affect Kelowna and commercial real estate?
The political landscape in Kelowna, I think, or I hope, remains the same. To be honest, and again, that's from me, and it's obviously a personal opinion. I am highly supportive of the growth, as long as there's plans for infrastructure that can support that growth. So the UBCO Okanagan campus that's currently under construction, and a lot of the other multifamily developments that are going on downtown, I'm all for it. That being said, I want to make sure that the people that are coming in or that are going to get elected or reelected also have plans in place to support that growth, whether it be through transportation and housing and all those sorts of things. And I think the vision that Kelowna's had over the past 7 years since I've been here has been progressive, but it's also been well thought out. And I'm hoping that the people who, take over or, like I say, get reelected, just continue on that path of being, conscious about those decisions, but also understand the benefits that this type of growth can bring to everybody who's choosing to work, live, and play here.
Jeff, is there any fear? Obviously, Mayor Bazarat has been very forward thinking when it comes to developing Kelowna there, and it's attracted a lot of big names in the development industry come build in such a beautiful city. Is there any fear if Mayor Bazarat does not get reelected that other candidates out there maybe don't have the same vision of Kelowna or even the vision of the development world in Kelowna?
I mean, I'd be lying to say that it hasn't come up on multiple conversations with potential buyers, and we've that it has come into play when in regards to condition periods and making sure that anything related to development or the acquisition of property includes conditions that can be removed after the outcome of those elections. And I think that happens almost anywhere. I think there is a level of hesitancy prior to the results coming through because there are people whose platforms are too fast and too much growth and not enough reeling things in. So until we kind of come out on the other side of it, I think that we'll see property go under contract, but we won't see as much forward progress on that in terms of unconditional deals until after the election and the dust settles kind of.
Well, I think I can also comment on that from a company-wide standpoint. If you go back a few years there was the challenges in White Rock where a new council got in place and they actually went and they actually decreased density in some areas. And there was a situation where a gentleman or company had a 12-story development permit issued, but not a building permit yet. And then when the city went through with the new candidates, the new council, and they wanted to decrease the density in there, they chopped that density from 12 stories to 6 stories. And that individual, because they didn't have the building permit issued, actually had to go sue the city of White Rock, and the city of White Rock successfully won. So I think that kind of creates the thing where I think people just in that realm of developing are going to kind of cool the jets a little bit during the mayoral changes or potential changes. And if you go to the city of New West with Jonathan Cote's team there, they actually came out with some rental-only zonings. And that also, I think, caused some hesitancy around that, just because if you had a property, let's say it did have development potential attached to it and got into a rental-only zoning situation, you might only be able to now build rental on the product there. So I think I think it's just company-wide we've seen a slowdown on that, or people are sort of just a little more hesitant, which I think is just sort of with some of these case studies that have happened, people are just being a little bit more, watching their thing. And I think that gets amplified in smaller cities like Kelowna and Victoria, because you just don't know what the next mayor or the next council's vision is, if it aligns with what the previous council's vision was. And I think there's some precedents there in White Rock that kind of went the opposite direction. So I think that kind of makes it on everyone's radar now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even in West Kelowna, as they try to, for lack of better words, kind of catch up, because they're forced to grow and then take approach to their council being as obviously close on the other side of the bridge here, and their mayor isn't running again, and so it's for them and for what's happening over there. We have close eyes on West Kelowna to see who comes in and how they're going to approach their commercial real estate and development vision for the other side of the bridge, because as Kelowna becomes more and more expensive, which is the reality of it, other areas like West Kelowna and Lake Country and Penticton, eyes get focused on them and to see what their approach is going to be, and if they're going to follow suit with Kelowna, or if they're going to try to slow down and for fear of potentially growing too fast or not being prepared enough when that demand really hits.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Can you talk a little bit about how the office market is doing in Kelowna?
I think one thing in particular, Jeff, is because markets like Kelowna and Victoria and that are these great secondary markets now where a lot of people are migrating to. Are people going back to the office in these markets? How is that office market where you traditionally don't have a lot of office space to start with? Are people coming back to the office now that we're 2 years probably post since the start of COVID?
I think there's a growing sense that people are coming back to the office. There's definitely going to be certain, operations that will downsize or have the remote workers, but I still think the requirement to be in the office will need to be there. I think just the impact on culture and collaboration when you're face to face is something that cannot be met or matched when you're working remotely. The Stover Group just finished construction, or is just finishing construction on Landmark 7 here just off the highway. And I know that they are very, very close to potentially being leased or fully leased as well. That will be people moving from, Landmark 6 and Landmark 5, which is their other buildings, into the new one. But they've seen, excellent success and absorption in that regard. And the office market in Kelowna, I think, continues to, as far as the three asset classes, industrial, retail, office, it probably has like the largest vacancy rate, but I think that it's the same almost anywhere you go. But the demand for offices and, especially being downtown, again, with the development and the density that's happening downtown, we're seeing increased interest in getting back into the office. Or again, people who are moving into Kelowna, they need a home base. So they'll probably start out small. We still have that demand for 1,000 to 2,000 square foot spaces, but we're really starting to see, larger operations, look at Kelowna more seriously, even if they start at, a space like Spaces or Regis. They're testing the waters for that, permanent office residence at some point.
So traditionally, you see a city like Kelowna where it's the first one to see the run up in regards to pricing and stuff like that. And then, smart investors may look just on the outskirts of Kelowna, like the West Kelowna area, or even Vernon, or maybe as far as Kamloops. Has markets like Vernon, really been impacted in a very positive way from the success of Kelowna, where people are now looking into those Lake Country and Vernon markets now of what potentially will spin off of Kelowna? Are you seeing that uptick in those markets, or has that happened yet?
Our office is doing more work in Vernon current now than I've done in the past 7 years in my career in Kelowna. I think Vernon's the one that's really seen the most interest in activity. They do have the industrial opportunities, but they also have some really great income producing opportunities down there with some commercial properties with a lot of upside. Penticton, we do see it a little bit as well. Kamloops, we're starting to see a lot of activity and getting lots of calls with our new office opening up there here shortly as well. But Vernon seems to be the one that really kind of stands out as gaining a lot of momentum right now.
Now, is that a lot of it's driven because there's an incoming Cactus Club that you kind of know your city's made it when there's a Cactus Club, Home Depot, and a Costco? Like, you're on the map now?
It's got to have something to do with it. They're long overdue. As soon as Cactus Club decides that they're going there, that there's something in the water.
So now, Jeff, we've touched base on the surrounding communities and stuff like that, and you touched base a little bit on Kamloops there, and I don't want to go down, too much of the rabbit hole of Kamloops, but what are your thoughts on Kamloops? Obviously, like you mentioned there, we have the office opening there that you're going to be the leader of, and we're seeing a lot of impact in a positive way in Kamloops for the past few years. But what is your take on Kamloops? Are they getting a lot of spin-off business now because Kelowna's pricing has become so expensive that people are almost getting priced out there and going to Kamloops?
I don't know about the migration from Kelowna to Kamloops, but I definitely feel like there's an increased level of activity in Kamloops and demand to be in Kamloops. Over on the North Shore of Kamloops, you're seeing lots of investment and redevelopment and density. At the high where our office is, having that office building, just completed down there has injected new life. And the Kelson Group has their, multifamily development that they have going on. So I think, obviously with the Thompson Rivers University and the government, employer that they have, in Kamloops, it's already got the industries there to really support what they're seeing is probably a bit of a resurgence. And I think we're going to see, reinvestment into the Kamloops market, which will highly benefit that area and re-inject some life back in there as the tournament capital of the world.
Well, one thing I do want to give a shout out to you guys there is I was recently up in Kelowna for an event we had there that our Kelowna office led by Jeff Brown had put on with Stream Property Partners. on a project called Bernard Place, which was an older building located on one of the high streets in Bernard, there downtown, that was converted into, reimagined, where it was brought back to life with retail and office stuff there. And I will say firsthand, when I attended the event, I was very, very, very pleasantly surprised to see how packed it was. And I think that's an indication of just the excitement that surrounds Kelowna now, to see how many people came out. And I think you and the team up there, Jeff, did a phenomenal job on it. But is that a true indication that these things now that you mean Kelowna's there, that all these people are coming out of the woodwork, whether it's people from the the investment side and the brokerage side of the business and all that stuff, where people are coming out to see what's going on because it's such an exciting market?
I think so, and I think there was some just some pent up anticipation for having these sorts of events back and available for us to attend and put faces to names and do personal tours. So we were really, really happy, with the turnout, the engagement, of the brokerage community. Everybody in town here has a busy schedule, and to see that many people take the time to show up to the event and tour the property and see the fabulous job that Stream Property Partners did with that building and re-injecting life back into the 400 block, with Emission Group's block development, going up on the 500 block. Kelowna is now not just a 2-block strip. It is really exciting to see, all the activity that's happening downtown. And I think as far as the brokerage community is concerned, and development community is concerned, wherever it is within, the 10 or 12 block radius of downtown Kelowna, people want to be here. We're definitely starting to see that type of interest. We're excited to be a part of that interest, and looking forward to keeping this going. I know that the current again lending landscape and financial uncertainty really just means that things might take a little bit longer, but it's not going to stop the train from moving. That I will say for sure.
So interest rates won't have, you don't feel have as much impact, say, in a market like Kelowna that's just been so hot and sort of seemed to get through everything, as say it may do down here.
Yeah, exactly. I think I say to kind of bring it back to what I said kind of at the beginning, the resiliency of Kelowna is going to really, I think, show over the next 12 to 18 months. And, where other areas may dip, Kelowna may just plateau, and then we'll start to see it come ramp back up again.
So Jeff, as a final question before we get to our 6-pack of questions here, what's Jeff Brown buying?
What's Jeff Brown buying?
Yeah, you got the investment money. Like, let's just say here, so people don't know, Adam's not here today. I mean, it is going into the long weekend. We record these on Friday. Adam says, "Hey, I don't work long weekends," so he shuffles the two of us up here to do the show, and he's probably somewhere, God knows where, on a patio having a beer.
I think he's really hungover. Actually,
is that what it is? Well, let's save that for the outro. Let's get into that, because I think we'd like to know more why he's hungover.
Yeah.
With that, so getting into where are you investing your money? And let's say we have Adam money. Adam owns a house up in Kelowna. Jeff, you own a house in Kelowna. Yep. Both of you guys probably have $10 million in the bank now because you guys are property owners in Kelowna. Where are you investing the money?
I'm investing the money into some sort of strata office or retail, for sure. I'd like to look at some of the areas like Rutland in Kelowna that haven't had as much of that sharp increase in pricing, but there's still tons of demand and migration into those areas to try and find a property that I can hang on to that may have a little bit of upside. And the other thing I might be looking at is some land that could be available with some long-term development potential if I had money just to kind of put into a kind of a land bank. We're going to start to see these other larger parcels, with relative increased interest, and if you can sit on it for a little bit, even 3 or 4 or 5 years, there's going to be some significant appreciation that'll happen in these areas. That might not be in the heart of downtown, but there's definitely some gold still left out there.
Quick follow-up question to that. So I know we talked about Jeff money and Adam money. What about like Melisa level money? Like how much or how little is $5
million. $5 million. Not, you don't have 10 million, you got $5 million. She's just being modest here. She's being modest
so
here.
What's kind of the minimum investment you would say is good to, what do I need to get in?
She's asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend.
I mean, I think you need probably about 750 to get in. Is probably realistic. There's a few live work units that are still available that are here downtown that I think are right around that $1 million mark. I think that's probably where you need to be realistically to get in. Now, that being said, if you were looking in Vernon and those types of areas, who, like you say, will still get the same benefit and maybe even more appreciation, you definitely don't need that much. 500 to 750 is probably more than enough to get your foot in the door on a small little piece, and you can find yourself doing really, really well.
It was funny because when you said 750, Melissa's like, no problem. So she's all in.
It's just a pair of shoes.
Yeah, so just $750,000 for a pair of shoes. Jeff, before we let you go here, we got our 6-pack of questions that we're going to unpack a little bit here, lighthearted questions, so we get to know you outside of the office there. I do know you are in a hurry here, but do you have 2 more minutes for us?
Of course.
The 6-pack is powered by our great friends over at Red Point Law.
Oh, the guys at Red Point Law are fantastic, Cory.
For all your legal needs when it comes to commercial real estate, visit them at redpointlaw.ca. All right, Melissa's going to lead us off here, but I will say I appreciate Jeff coming on the show because he is literally going to be catching a flight soon to go away on vacation. And I don't know, for those who know, in Kelowna, they work, most people work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Kelowna, they work 10 to 2, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we've caught Jeff on the middle of the extended long weekend that he's having. So we appreciate that. But I'll let Melissa kick it off with our 6-pack of questions. Go ahead.
All right. Question number 1, your favorite vacation spot. So I guess we're going to hear about where you're going.
Yeah, I didn't want to say where he's off to in case that was it.
Right.
So Jeff, favorite vacation spot?
I still think I think the last time I was on here, I think I said Lihue or Maui. I'll say I have a love for fishing. So if I can get up north into the Haida Gwaii area, I'll go with that. I'll go with that area of the world right now.
And Jeff's a well-traveled man. His wife works for WestJet, so he's a well-traveled man. So when he says it's a good spot, it's good. Jeff, second question up. What are you binge watching on Amazon or Netflix right now?
I mean, I'm a survivor. I'm still a reality TV junkie, so I'm not as much on the Netflix. Although I do like the what are they called? But I just watched the one that had the like the basketball referee that was like fixing games.
Oh, the Untold, the Untold series there.
Yeah, the Untold series. Yeah. So that I watched all of those. I was fascinated with that sort of stuff. So I'll go with that one. Apparently,
they're bringing out a Johnny Manziel episode all about, I guess, how he just tanked it in the NFL. So that would be another interesting one to watch when it comes out.
Yeah. Perfect. Victoria in her office is a big Browns fan, so I'll make sure that she knows when it comes out.
All right. Question number 3. What's a book that you recommend everyone reads?
Ooh, a book that I recommend everyone read. I really like what's it called? It's by Jay Shetty.
Oh, Think Like a Monk.
Shetty. Yes, Think Like a Monk.
I think that's the third time we've had that now.
Really enjoyed that book.
He's got a good podcast too. Not that you should not listen to this one and listen to his.
Listen to his after. Yeah. No,
yeah.
I think it's the third time we've had that book now. So I think it's a common thread. Obviously, it's a good book.
Is it? Oh.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on like Paint with Numbers, so I haven't got to anything that actually has literature yet. But we're getting there. All right, Jeff. So unfortunately, you find yourself on death row. You're given one last meal before it's all said and done. What meal are you having?
I'm going surf and turf, I think, all the way.
Ooh, good one. Any particular restaurant that's going to make the surf and turf for you?
Oh, gosh. Not Model Milk in Calgary.
Oh.
Never been.
It's an old, I'm biased because I did used to work there in my previous life, but anything that comes out of that kitchen is phenomenal. But yeah, I would also insist that it's Dungeness crab and not king crab because my BC roots. It'd have to be a whole Dungeness crab on that plate too.
Oh, well, sounds delicious. I'm probably gonna have Subway after this. This is my burnt Subway sandwich now.
All right, question number 5. What's your favorite band or artist? I guess.
You know what? I'll go Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats.
I have no idea who that is.
I don't know if anybody's heard.
What genre is that?
No.
They're like soul
Okay,
like
cool.
a soul blues rock band out of the States.
Wow.
Cool.
They just had a concert at the P&E, which I wasn't able to attend, but I've seen them at Burnaby Lake, and I've seen them at the Commodore.
Wow.
And they're a phenomenal band.
Yeah.
Either that or Paul Coffin. If you like a real soulful country approach, Paul Coffin is probably the record that I have on my record player most often right now.
Wow. Well, if neither one of them had opened for Nickelback, I wouldn't know who they are. So, all right, Jeff, you're sitting in
Nickelback's
Mexico.
got a new song, Cory. You must be thrilled.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. So before I'm going up to the event to go see Jeff and the team up there, I've almost gone through all of my audiobooks. I haven't found a good audiobook to listen to. What happens? Nickelback releases a new song 45 times in a row, back to back. I was in Kelowna in no time. Great drive.
Does not surprise me.
All right, Jeff, last question here. So you're sitting in Mexico. The tequila's been flowing. The kids are in bed. You grab the karaoke mic. What are you singing?
Oh, goodness. Probably Lottie Dottie by Snoop Dogg. If I have tequila in me.
Nice.
Awesome, Jeff. Well, thank you so much for taking the time for joining us. We appreciate it. We know you got to catch a flight to Mexico, but how can people find out more about Jeff Brown and everything going on in Kelowna with the William Wright team?
Well, they can find us at our website, www.williamwright.ca. You can also call me directly, jeff.brown@williamwright.ca. My cell number is on the website as well. I forward my office line to myself so that I'm always available. And you can bug me in Mexico. It's part of the job. I just need to return your call, depending on the amount of tequilas.
So
You're going to be singing Lottie Dottie.
Yeah, so no calls after 2 p.m. is what you're saying.
That's right.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
right.
That's just normal for Kelowna. No calls after 1 p.m. in Mexico. Sorry. I apologize. All right, Jeff. Well, thank you so much for taking your time to join us again and give us an update with everything that's happening up there. Go enjoy your trip, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Take care, Jeff. Bye-bye.
All right, take care.
There you have it, folks. Our interview today with Jeff Brown of the William Wright Kelowna office. I thought it was great. I love talking to Jeff.
Yeah, it was really insightful to hear what's going on down in the ground there in Kelowna.
You know what the most impressive part of the whole thing was?
What's that?
We hit record before we did that. I know Adam's not here right now. We were both really scared that we're going to record the best episode in podcast history and then not actually hit the record button. So we successfully recorded the episode.
I'm somehow like the tech person in my office, which I'm not sure how. And he sat me in front of this. I don't even know what this is. I feel like I'm in a spaceship. But it was one button. We did it.
I still use a typewriter in my office. So anything past the typewriter thing there is just foreign to me. So I'm glad Adam put you behind the board and not me.
It was intimidating. It was a big job.
It was a big job.
I did it. Friday morning.
I think
success.
so we figured out. So Adam's not here. He's probably had a few too many Fat Tug beers last night.
I think he might be having a nap.
He might be having a nap, hungover, whatever you want to call it. You know, Adam's got property in Kelowna. He teed up this episode. I think he wants to really know how his investment works.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just who we're working for here.
Yeah.
Not only does he not show up on long weekends, he forces us to do episodes on where he owns property, so you get a better idea of how that's performing. But we can report back. It was A-okay.
Yeah.
It was A-okay. Long weekend coming up. Do you have any big plans for the long weekend? Open houses? Do people buying and selling on the long weekends?
You know what? I have Thanksgiving dinners. I have like 3 of them. I'm just going to be eating all weekend.
That's not a bad play. That's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah.
You say it like it's a negative.
No, it's a great thing. I might be in a coma by Tuesday.
Without further ado, guys, everyone go enjoy the long weekend. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Have a great weekend.
Take care, guys.
Subscribe today.